From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Waodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Defense Headquarters announces plans to work with other security agencies to trace and curb the use of drones by terrorist groups. Governor of Anambra State, Chukwuma Soludo, holds another strategic meeting with Onitsha market traders and assures them of returning the facility to its old glory. The Federal High Court in Ibadan nullifies the November 14 National Convention of the People's Democratic Party, just as the party says it is appealing the judgment that invalidates the convention. And President Donald Trump nominates conservative economist Kevin Walsh as the new chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank.
On business news, Africa Airlines end the year strong as December traffic rises 10.3% year-on-year.
On sports news tonight, 38-year-old Novak Djokovic sets up a blockbuster Australian Open final with Carlos Alcaraz as the Serbian sets sights on an all-time record 25th Grand Slam crown.
From the nation's capital, Senate Committee on Appropriations tentatively fixes March 17, 2026 for final consideration and passage of 58.472 trillion Naira appropriation bill.
We begin tonight with security, as the Defense Headquarters has announced plans to work with other federal government agencies to trace and curb the use of drones by terrorists. Addressing a news conference in the nation's capital, Abuja, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoja, says that in recent months, the terrorists operating in the northeastern region have increasingly deployed sophisticated drones in attacks on civilians and on security personnel, escalating concerns over the evolving tactics of these insurgents.
It's the end-of-month briefing by the Defense Headquarters on the activities of the military in various theaters of operations across the country, as journalists await the arrival of the Director of Defense Media Operations. His arrival signals the commencement of the briefing as he reels out statistics of successes recorded within the month across the country.
Ground forces, in conjunction with the air component and hybrid forces, as well as local security groups, conducted aggressive operations across the theater. During these operations, troops neutralized several terrorists and arrested their informants and logistics suppliers. They also recovered weapons and dismantled terrorist networks. Their efforts paved way for the safe resettlement of displaced persons. For instance, from the 1st of January to the 29th, troops conducted operations against terrorists across Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states, with successes recorded by neutralizing scores of terrorists.
Beyond the successes so far recorded, the increasing use of advanced drone technology by terrorist groups and how the ones are sourced is causing concerns, but the military vows to curb its use.
Taking note of the fact that some of these non-state actors and threats now have the capability and the capacity to use drones. I also want you to know and to tell the public that we have reached an advanced stage in taking measures in conjunction with other federal government agencies, as you asked, to trace where these drones are coming from.
We are doing everything within our capacity to ensure that we bring
unwavering determination to sustain ongoing operations across all theaters, assuring citizens of continued professionalism, interagency cooperation, and resolve to restore peace and stability nationwide.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Wide Shaibu, to tackle insecurity through training and retraining. The Chief of Army Staff stated this during the opening ceremony of the training seminar organized by the Department of Army Transformation and Innovation at the Army Headquarters on intensifying warrior ethos, managing drug abuse and post-traumatic stress disorder, which the Army Chief says it is part of the unwavering commitment of the Nigerian Army to operational readiness. Represented by the Theatre Commander Northwest Joint Task Force Operation Fasanyama, Major General Wara Idris, the Army Chief maintains that the entrenchment of warrior ethos, especially at the unit level, will ensure operational success.
I urge strict adherence to the tenets of my command philosophy, which aims to advance the transformation of the Nigerian Army into a more professional, adaptive, combat-ready, and resilient force capable of decisively discharging its constitutional responsibilities within a joint and multi-agency environment. As we strive to promote operational effectiveness in our troops through the deliberate adoption of warrior ethos, it is imperative to note the dual threats of post-traumatic stress disorder and drug abuse, both of which have proven to be impediments to our combat readiness. I therefore commend the initiative of bringing these issues up for deliberations. In all the theme of this seminar, Warrior Ethos, a tool for building unit cohesion and combat-ready force, is both apt and timely, as it offers a valuable platform for deep reflection and knowledge exchange aimed at strengthening the Nigerian Army's effectiveness.
At least 2 passengers have been kidnapped and the driver shot by suspected in West Africa. He decried the surge in unapproved structures springing up every day without recourse to sanity, appropriate facilities for human health, and spaces for parking of vehicles for both the traders and their customers. According to the governor, the essence of the meeting is to go back to the market's master plan. And it was a moment of prayer, reflection, and quiet gratitude in Bayelsa as the state and the nation gathered to honor a man's humility, his intellect, and his service. The Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, the late Senator Lawrence Ewurjako, has been laid to rest in his hometown in Sagbama local government area of Bayelsa State following a solemn funeral mass attended by leaders from across the country.
To have done. He has made us to believe in politics and politicians by the way he lived.
Ex-President Goodluck Jonathan and his wife, Governor of Bayelsa State, Senator Doye Diri, Oyo State Governor, Engineer Sheyi Makinde, and some former governors also graced the funeral ceremony. Some of the guests believe that the Deputy Governor lived a good life.
Lawrence, in all our activities, it will take members of the State Executive Council, with the State Assembly, sometimes the traditional rulers and stakeholders, whenever the governor directs, and he will go and represent the governor. So whenever I'm having a program like Goodluck Jonathan Foundation, it's like a Bayelsa program. We are all familiar with how careful my deputy governor who is lying in state here today was, particularly to what and where he goes and what he eats or drinks. To those of us who have worked with him, he carries one small flask. When he comes to me in the lodge, he comes with that small flask. He goes with it to the office. If carefulness were all that mattered, perhaps.
As the sun sets on this life, the Deputy Governor's testimony will live on in the hearts of everyone that he touched.
Our thoughts and prayers remain with the family. In part 2, after the break, the Federal High Court in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, nullifies the November 14 National Convention of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, just as the back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. The Defense Headquarters announced plans to work with other security agencies to trace and curb the use of drones by terrorist groups. Governor Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State holds another strategic meeting with Onitsha market traders, assures them of returning the facility to its old glory. The Federal High Court in Ibadan nullifies the November 14 National Convention of the People's Democratic Party, just as the party says it is appealing the judgment that invalidated the convention. And President Donald Trump nominates conservative economist Kevin Walsh as the new chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank. Seems like a big blow. The judge ruled that and still judicial approval for actions taken orders. The PDP can only operate through the caretaker committee until a proper and lawful national convention is held. A faction of the People's Democratic Party's working committee, led by Kabiru Turaki, the national chairman, filed a suit seeking the recognition of the national convention and validating the NWC members elected during that convention.
The judiciary has spoken, and when the court speaks, everybody must listen and obey the directions and orders of the court. The claimants came to court seeking a stamp of judicial approval to the illegal convention they held on the 16th of November 2025 here in Ibadan. And the court came out strongly to say that that convention was null and void because it was conducted in flagrant disobedience of two judgments of this same Federal High Court, and to come back to taunt the same court by asking the court to approve what you did was just an exercise in futility. So that convention is gone. In addition, the court nullified all the decisions that were taken at that convention. So the so-called contraption or executive committee that was purportedly elected and headed by a national working committee that was purportedly elected at that convention has been set aside completely by the court.
Meanwhile, the leadership of the People's Democratic Party, led by Mr. Tanimu Turaki, says that it has filed an appeal to upturn that judgment of the Federal High Court in Ibadan, which invalidated the November 15 National Convention of the party. Mr. Turaki insists that the subject of the National Convention was not part of the prayers before the court and questioned the rationale behind the judgment. According to him, his National Working Committee has briefed its legal team and an appeal has been filed along with stay of execution for the judgment.
We are aware of the judgment of the Federal High Court Ibadan delivered earlier today, which essentially declined to grant the order of mandamus sought on the ground that granting same will, in the considered opinion of the court, amount to sitting on appeal over the judgments of courts of coordinate jurisdiction. For clarity, we approached the court seeking an order of mandamus to compel the Independent National Electoral Commission to recognize the Ibadan Convention and to facilitate official party communications with the Commission. In the course of the proceedings, some former members of our party who had earlier been expelled applied to be joined and were so joined by the order of the court. The court proceeded suo motu to grant reliefs that were neither prayed for nor canvassed by any of the parties before the court. Consequently, we have filed a notice of appeal as well as motion for stay of execution of the judgment, and we're determined to pursue this matter diligently and to its logical conclusion in accordance with the law.
The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has threatened to forcefully take over the Yakubu Gowon Stadium should the Rivers State government fail to approve it for use by members of his political group. Mr. Wike made this known in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, earlier today while addressing a crowd of supporters during the official inauguration of the senatorial district and local government area coordinators of the Renewed Hope agenda.
Gathered here are members of the Rivers State chapter of the Renewed Hope agenda, a bipartisan movement operating under what they call a rainbow coalition. They've converged from across the 23 local government areas of the state for the inauguration of the LGA and senatorial district coordinators.
We go! I say we go!
The FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, is in attendance alongside other top political office holders from the different tiers of government. One by one, the politicians compete to outdo each other as they lavish praise on President Tinubu for his support for the state while calling on him to run again in 2027.
Excellency, we want to proceed by going straight to the issue, which is just to reassure you, our political leader, that all the members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, that we are reaffirming what we said earlier when we had our sitting and we came up with a resolution, which is that we are still standing with His Excellency Mr. President. We are still reaffirming our position that we are still calling on him to run for his second term.
Our profound gratitude to His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for all the good things he has done in our dear state, for all the political appointments that he has given to our people, for all the projects, that he has cited, particularly the Bodoboni Road, which our people can travel freely from Port Harcourt to Boni now. The Federal Polytechnic for Environment, and all so many things that we cannot enumerate now because of time factor. And also, especially, we want to thank him for restoring peace in our dear state.
The Rivers State coordinator of the Renewed Hope agenda, Desmond Akawo, then inaugurates the senatorial and local government coordinators for the political movement. Taking the stage, the FTT minister charges his people to take the Renewed Hope message to the grassroots as he advises the state government to endeavor to approve the Yakubu Gowon Stadium for the group to use anytime the need arises.
We applied to the state government for the General Gowon Yakubu Stadium. They refused us. But let me say, next time we will do this. If you don't approve it, we will break it by force. So the coordinator of the state, write again to the state government. Choose a day. We inaugurate the world level. I want to say to everybody to hear, enough is enough. We are all from River State. Nobody can deny us the facilities of the state. If you don't agree to give us, we will do the useful and we'll take it by force. Heaven will never fall. Even when heaven falls, everywhere will be at peace. Thank you.
Speaking on the sidelines of the event, the chairman of Kana local government area, Thomas Barrere, refutes allegations of a breach of the Electoral Act, insisting, however, that they are going to test their political influence during the upcoming by-election in Kana.
Your Excellency, we have solemnly promised you and vow that we are following you until we are able to represent again the president in the State House.
With moves like this, the FTT minister's allies appear to be taking the initiative in the political arena of River State. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, the Rivers State government has denied claims that it blocked the Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike and the Rivers State coordinator of the Renewed Hope Ambassadors, Desmond Dakawo, from using the Yakubu Gowon Stadium in Port Harcourt for the inauguration of pro-Tinubu political support group. Ms. Dakawo made this allegation during the inauguration of the group, claiming that the state government denied them access to the facility. The claim was later reinforced by the FCT minister, who warned that supporters will forcibly gain access if denied again. And reacting to the River State government, described these allegations as false and misleading. Speaking to journalists today, after the inspection tour of the stadium, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Information and Communications, Dr. Arno Sirawu, alongside the Commissioner for Sports and Attorney General, Christopher Green, said that no request for the use of the stadium was received and that the facility is currently unsafe for use due to ongoing reconstruction.
I have not received any application, and if anybody says I've received any application, let the person show me. Let me have the proof. Let's have the evidence that an application has been given and the application was rejected. No application has been given, no application was sent to me, no response was given, nobody was rejected from using this place. And of course, ordinarily, we'll want to apply to use this kind of place. It's not possible. And again, the kind of program you're talking about is a program that all of us are also interested in. And so if you want to use this place will not be able to contain the number of people that support Mr. President himself, from His Excellency the Governor. So that if you want to use any place, the best place for you to use is the Adokia Mesemaka Stadium, where everybody uses now. It is open for everybody. We are not the kind of ones that will stop people from using our facilities. And of course, if we stop you from using these facilities, why are we allowing you use the Polytechnic, the Elechi Amadi Polytechnic? It is government facility. It's open for everybody. And so it's not true that anybody applied and there was rejected. So let's see it. Nothing like that. Look at it. Everybody could look around. Look at what you see around here. You can see everything around here. The place is under construction. The equipments are still here. They're still working.
Still ahead on the news at 10, African Airlines end the year strong as December traffic rose 10.3% year on year. That's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. But let's head over to the nation's capital, Abuja now, where Millicent Walker is standing by to bring us more stories. Hello, Millicent.
Hi, Anne. Lovely to see you. Well, the Senate Committee on Appropriations has tentatively fixed March 17, 2026 for the final consideration and passage of the 58.472 trillion naira appropriation bill. This was announced after a special session today chaired by Senator Solomon Adeola. The committee scheduled Thursday, March 5th, 2026 for an interactive session with key economic managers of the federal government, including The Ministers of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, as well as the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Atiku Bagudu. The Standing Committee chairmen are expected to submit reports on budget defense between February 16 to the 23rd, 2026, ahead of the presentation of the Appropriations Committee's report to the Senate. It disclosed that while the Senate's leadership initially preferred the budget to be passed by March 12, 2026, it successfully appealed for an additional week to allow a more thorough scrutiny. To aid detailed examination of the estimates, Senator Adeola said hard copies of the 2026 budget have been printed, distributed to chairmen and members of the Senate's standing committees.
Submission and defense of budget report by subcommittee. That starts on Monday the 16th and to end by 23rd February 2026. While collation and harmonization of report by Appropriation Committee starts on Tuesday the 24th February to Tuesday 17th of March. And laying and presentation of reports is to be determined between 17th and 19th of March. My dear colleagues, one main issue I want us to look at is on that last point that I've raised, because we should consider that we have to go on Easter break, and also I think it will be towards the end of Ramadan. So looking at those two, we must make sure we work within the time frame to ensure that that budget is passed. And even though the leadership are asking for 12th of March for the budget to be passed, but because I know how tedious this job can be once we start, so I try to convince them that we should look at between 17th and 19th of March so that we can pass the budget. And I want to say that the committee so agreed and ratified this timetable, then we can say officially the budget process has started.
Well, the stories, the federal government has said it is expanding the volume of trade with more African countries through the African Continental Free Trade Area, which offers a $3.4 trillion market. The technical advisor to the President on Economic and Financial Inclusion, Office of the Vice President, Mr. Nuruddin Zaro, stated this ahead of the 2026 RigTech Africa Conference and Expo. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, has more.
With a population of over 1.4 billion people in 54 countries, Africa offers a great market of opportunities. And in this hall, the discussion is on how Nigeria can leverage these opportunities as the country prepares to host the 2026 RigTech Africa Conference and Expo.
That a lot of reforms have happened in this country.
The technical advisor to the President on Economic and Financial Inclusion, Office of the Vice President, is confident that President Tinubu is keen on advancing trade relations in Africa.
From day one, Mr. President actually set a target. He set a target of Nigeria's deepening our economic and financial sector to achieve $1 trillion economy GDP by the year 2030. In order for us to achieve that, definitely, we have to build trust, we have to build infrastructure, we have to ensure inclusion, and of course, bring some policies that promote partnership and collaboration. That is a definition of the borderless economy. It is to that effect that a lot of reforms have happened in this country. Everybody is a witness to that.
The 2026 RigTech Africa Conference, scheduled to hold in May this year, will bring together over 1,000 participants from across Africa to foster trust, infrastructure, inclusion, and policy for a borderless economy.
The risks, the gaps are there. But for you to be able to, take care of those bad actors so that those that are coming, those that you're opening your borders to are the right people. The element of trust has to be there.
Most Africans find it comfortable to do business with the US, with China, with everywhere other place. But to do with ourselves, and there's a lot of things we can do with each other, from food to clothing and to every other thing that speaks to our culture.
Organizers of the 2026 RigTech Africa Conference say the conference will also focus on financial integrity, anti-money laundering, and counter-financing of terrorism framework and regional regulatory cooperation. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
A leading media agency, Media Reach OMD, has unveiled its highly anticipated top trends of 2026, disclosing that the marketing and communications landscape is set for a seismic shift. Now, in its fifth year, Top Trends addresses the urgent need for Nigerian businesses to transition from responding to trends to actively driving industry change through human-centric data. Speakers at the event noted that insight is the new data, and with more use of artificial intelligence for insight generation, organizations and brands, they can make the right decisions to disrupt, innovate, and build more affinity with their customers in 2026.
Of the top trends of 2026 in Lagos brought together business executives, brand strategists, marketers, the media and many others to explore the forces that will shape growth for businesses and consumers this year. A leading media planning and buying agency, Media Reach OMD, in partnership with Lagos Business School, Geopol, the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria and other sponsors, collaborated to hold this hybrid forum, which explored the theme, Top Trends 2026, Insights-Driven Decisions to Disrupt the Marketing Industry.
There was a time we were all about data. Talking about big data, the importance of having data to be able to drive your decision making. But actually, more and more, we're seeing that the differentiation is not going to come just from data. It will come from sharper insights. Insights that can really drive our decision making.
If you don't really understand your consumer and you're shooting in quotes, your messaging across board, there's no way you can deliver impact. But if you use data, insight, and every other technology available today, which is cleaner, better, and even more engaging to understand your consumer, you're able to take actionable decisions for you to deliver the kind of results you want to deliver.
Other key speakers disclosed that the top trends will see customer attention to detail rising to influence spending priorities, with value to be defined by how brands adapt to customers' needs. Salespersons, they say, will drive loyalty through memorable experiences, while TikTok will become Nigeria's primary cultural engine in 2026. And brands that fail to show up on there risk cultural irrelevance, especially among younger customers.
This is a time for consumers to be very careful, to watch carefully for which brands they are going for, to look out for authenticity, to look out for sustainability, to look out for brands that are transparent in terms of what they sell. So I think Nigerian consumers are going to be a lot more powerful this year because they're going to be a lot more informed before they buy.
Our expectation is that businesses will use these insights, right, to inform the business decisions that they will be taking in 2026 to help them stay ahead and profitable in the course of the year.
In a major commitment to social impact, Top Trends 2026 has also launched the inaugural Next Generation Marketing Contest to identify and support future leaders. The winner will receive a 500,000 Naira cash prize, a leading internship opportunity, and much more. Shola Shuyeli, Channels Television News.
And that's it from the nation's capitals. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10, who I'm sure is looking forward to the weekend. Anne?
Thank you, Millicent. Definitely I am. And some company news, PricewaterhouseCoopers PwC, in collaboration with business, is optimistic about Nigeria's economy in 2026. Views supporting this view shared at this year's roundtable on Nigeria's 2026 budget and economic outlook in Lagos. Dissecting the drivers of the positive sentiments, regional senior partner PwC West Market Area, Mr. Sam Abu, also shared what CEOs must do to key into the trend and maximize these opportunities.
PricewaterhouseCoopers PwC, a leading global professional services network specializing in audit, tax and others, and operating in 136 countries, is weighing into the 2026 economic outlook conversation alongside intellectuals interested in Nigeria's economic health.
Our 29th annual Global CEO Survey, which gathers insights from 4,400 leaders across 95 countries, reveals a world that is operating with two lenses. CEOs are looking at the world with two lenses. The first lens is a microscope. The second lens is a telescope.
The economic reform in the country is expected to drive expectations in 2026. However, beyond the leakages, attention is drawn to top-line challenges when it comes to revenue management.
Nigeria is only able to afford 30% of what we need to develop as a nation. So 30% you have, not factoring in the stealing, but the problem is 70% is absent.
I'd like to get your thoughts.
A panel of experts share their perspective on the issues raised and expected trends for the world, the African continent, and Nigeria. They also chart a possible way to handle hurdles to hitting targets. And there are many takeaways from the meeting.
CEOs and executives have to be bolder, they have to be optimistic, they have to focus on a number of areas in terms of how they want to execute their strategies in 2026.
Very important thing that every CEO or CFO must prioritize is around deal screening, how they are able to identify the winners of tomorrow.
Sustainability is not, it's what's going to push us as an economy to diversify our economy, actually. Not to move away from what we know, but to diversify like every other economy is looking at, and find what are our risks and what are our opportunities in building a sustainable, developed country.
The meeting also highlights the need for deeper scrutiny of transactions as institutional investors gradually return to the Nigerian markets.
Let's continue in the world of business. Dominic Iwiwu is standing by.
Thank you, Anne. And on business news, African Airlines posted a strong end-of-year performance, recording a 10.3% year-on-year increase in passenger traffic in December 2025. And this is according to the latest data released by the International Air Transport Association, IATA. The growth marked one of the fastest regional expansions globally for the month, underscoring rising demand for air travel across the continent, despite ongoing challenges around capacity, infrastructure, and operating costs. IATA data showed that capacity among African carriers expanded by about 12.9% in December, reflecting airlines' efforts to meet growing travel demand during the peak holiday season. However, the increase in capacity slightly outpaced demand growth, keeping load factors below the global average. The Naira continued its rally in the foreign exchange market, strengthening to 1,386 Naira 55 kobo per US dollar in official trading, one of its firmest levels in recent months, as the US dollar weakened globally, boosting emerging market currencies. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria and official market indicators show that the Naira's gains came amid softer dollar demand globally, as investor sentiment improved on prospects of stable US monetary policy and easing expectations around interest rate hikes. The currency's rally comes amid a softer US dollar globally, as investors reassessed expectations around US monetary policy and shifted towards riskier assets. And the domestic equities market ended the week lower amid profit-taking and macroeconomic concerns. Lady Williams tells us more.
Well, it was a cautious close today for equities. The NGX All-Share Index slipped by 9 basis points, with gains and losses almost evenly split, 32 stocks up and 31 down. And we'll see that 9 basis points down there, 165,000 level for the All-Share Index. That was maintained. Market cap 106 trillion. So the top trades now, we see Secure Electronic Technology PLC, Deep Capital Management Trust. They're topping there with Veritas Capital. And, you know, definitely this one's been rising for a while now, up about 400% this month. But we did see a pullback today with 33 million traded with deep cap. While the market closed marginally lower, the near even split between gainers and losers suggests investors are staying, selective as they watch for fresh catalysts.
Thank you, Ladi. Let's see the snapshot performance for other major equities. And that's it on business news. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Dominic. And outside our shores, let's join Simon Pusey with more international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Well, I'm meeting with Kevin Walsh today, so I'm meeting with him.
Donald Trump has nominated the conservative economist Kevin Walsh as the new chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve. The 55-year-old, who served as a Fed governor from 2006 to 2011, is an outspoken critic of the central bank. Trump's pick is a rare candidate who appears to appease both the president and investors. The central bank has been under political pressure from the White House about how it sets interest rates. Mr. Trump had been expected to nominate a successor to Jerome Powell, whose term ends in May. The president has frequently criticized Powell for not cutting interest rates faster. Syria's government has reached a deal with the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces militia alliance that would see the gradual integration of Kurdish forces and institutions into the state. This comes after weeks of clashes which saw Syrian troops reclaim large swathes of territory in the northeast that had been under SDF control for more than a decade. US envoy Tom Barrack called it a profound and historic milestone in Syria's journey toward national reconciliation, unity and enduring stability. Earlier this month, and after its major territorial losses, the SDF agreed to a ceasefire, but reports of clashes continued. Israeli media report that a senior security source has said the military accepts more than 70,000 Palestinians have been killed during the war in Gaza. Israel had previously cast doubt on the figures from the Hamas-run health ministry, but their figures have been deemed reliable by the UN and other human rights groups and widely cited by international media. The war began after the Hamas-led attack on southern Israel on the 7th of October 2023, when around 1,200 other people were killed and 251 taken hostage. Israel responded by launching a military campaign in Gaza, during which more than 71,660 people have been killed, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Burkina Faso's junta has announced a ban on all political parties whose activities have been suspended since the military seized power in 2022. Junta leader Captain Ibrahim Traoré has been criticized for suppressing dissent, and the move will be seen as the latest move to tighten control. According to Burkina Faso's interior minister, the ban is part of plans to rebuild the state after what he said were numerous abuses. Parties were previously banned from holding public gatherings, but the new decree stops them from operating altogether. The former CNN host Don Lemon has been arrested after he entered a Minnesota church and filmed anti-immigration enforcement protesters as they disrupted a service. Lemon was taken into custody by federal agents while in Los Angeles covering the Grammy Awards. His lawyer said Don will fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. Lemon went into the city's church in St. Paul on the 19th of January with a group of protesters who said one of the pastors was an immigration and customs enforcement official. A mayor in the Philippines has survived a rocket launcher attack on his vehicle in broad daylight. CCTV footage captured the moment when one of the attackers fired at the SUV carrying Mayor Ahmad Mitra Ampatuan, causing an explosion. Ampatuan's car is seen stopping briefly and driving away after the hit. The mayor survived the grenade attack, but according to military reports, 2 of his security guards were injured. At least 3 attackers were killed by police, according to media sources.
Here we go again.
Cinemas in South Africa will not be showing the documentary about the US First Lady Melania Trump that was released today. The South African distributor Filmfinity has decided not to release it. The film Melania is not promoted on the websites of the country's main cinema chains either. Relations between the US and South Africa have seriously deteriorated over the past year. Amazon reportedly paid $35 million to market the film. And footage has been released of the moment a boiler house, the largest structure in Nottinghamshire's West Burton A power station, was demolished using explosives. It's part of work to turn the site into the UK's first prototype commercial nuclear fusion reactor. Developers said the boiler house was the single largest structure on the site and housed 4 boilers, which each fed cooling towers. The plant closed in March 2023, and the site is due to be cleared by 2028.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Confederation of African Football has approved a request by the Nigeria Football Federation for a change of venue of the 2026 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup third-round first leg qualifying between Nigeria and Senegal, scheduled for Saturday, February the 7th. The match will now be played at the MKO Abiola Sports Complex in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. The change of venue is as a result of the deteriorating state of the playing pitch of the Lakon Salami Stadium in Ibadan that had earlier been approved for the match. Real Madrid have been handed a quick rematch with Jose Mourinho's Benfica in the draw for the Champions League playoff round, while reigning European champions PSG will face domestic rivals Monaco. Elsewhere, Newcastle United will be strong favourite against the surprise packages Karabakh of Azerbaijan. Norwegian champions Bodo Glimt have been rewarded with a tie against last season's runners-up Inter Milan. Juventus will take on Galatasaray while Atletico Madrid face Club Brugge. The two-legged playoff ties will take place in February. That sports is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Defense Headquarters has announced plans to work with other security agencies to trace and curb the use of drones by terrorist groups in the country. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Wawado. Thank God it's Friday. From all of us here, it's good night.